Violet-Anne Wynne.
I want to start by acknowledging the little bit of history being made right now as the first time this new slot for non-aligned independents is being used. And I want to thank the Business Committee and indeed the Independent Group, the Labour Party, Social Democrats and Solidarity People Before Profit, who generously lent me time over the last year. It was absolutely significant to my constituents that I found the time to raise their issues on their behalf, and for that I was most grateful. I want to welcome in principle this legislation which seeks to put more power into the hands of people who are duly elected by the public to serve them and out of the hands of the unelected executives or ministers outside of the county. Any strides that can be made towards redirecting some of the executive powers over an area back into the hands of elected officials should be embraced fully by this House. Giving the people of Limerick more of a say into how their local authority is run and how funds are directed and spent is incredibly significant and should be celebrated. As our nearest neighbours, I strongly welcome the decision to include the Chief Executive of my local authority, Clare County Council, on many of the committees that the directly elected Mayor will chair, and I would hope that as this bill moves through this House and the Seanad, that we will also see a seat given to the Cathaoirleach of Clare County Council on these committees. It is so important that we respect our elected members in local authorities and respect the decision-making power that they have and the work that they do. The mandate that they are given by being duly elected by the people is significant. This place at the table should not be underestimated, and I wish the prospective candidates who are currently considering this role the very best. On the point of hearing and, more importantly, listening to and engaging with the decision makers on a local level, I spent last Monday with the 28 duly elected members of Clare County Council. The assembled members called myself and my Clare Oireachtas colleagues before them to discuss what they say is the shameful ministerial direction given by you, which cut the knees out from under our new county development plan. It was an interesting meeting where councillors from all parties and none, including your own minister and Minister O'Brien's, voiced their disdain and disgust at the heavy-handed decision which will serve to block planning permission across large swathes of County Clare. The councillors, executive, Oireachtas members, stakeholders, organisations and thousands of constituents across County Clare worked painstakingly on drafting this plan, and for you to come along with your red pen and effectively erase some of the most significant provisions in this plan was disgraceful. I am dealing with constituents every single week who want to build their forever homes on their own land, and they are continuously blocked in doing so by this government. If it isn't increasing the VAT on concrete products or making a hames of on-board Planala, it's going after rural Ireland and making it next to near impossible to get planning permission to build a house on one owns land. Minister, you say you're a government committed to housing for all. Well, Clare says don't make us laugh. Due to your ministerial order, around 113 kilometres of national roads in County Clare are now no longer viable sites for new house building, and 105 of these are in the West Clare Municipal District. This is yet another example of anti-rural policy by this government, which seems adamant on starving communities in my constituency of basic services and now blocking people from building their own house on their own land. In the councillors' words, Minister, it is now not the Clare County Development Plan, but instead the OPR plan. We also heard from Macra and Naferma, who outlined that only 6% of farmers are under 35, and that while we're trying to ensure that your young farmers are incentivised as much as humanly possible to consider farming as their career path, then why at the same time are we also hearing from such young farmers that they cannot build their own homes? Some have to rent properties that is not on their farming land, and one particular example was given where a young couple with a new baby who had applied for planning permission on 2 separate occasions with serious amendments that should have been considered still did not get it over the line. The pressure that this situation is putting on a young family is not sustainable and it's not right. Another example was a couple. He was a farmer and she was a GP, and they applied under his name and were refused. They were told to go again under her name, and the planning permission was approved as a local lead was established, but time again was wasted. There There are a total of 5 villages in Clare, Minister, that have no wastewater systems, and the major concern is that this instrument will see no progress for these 5 villages. 2 were earmarked for inclusion in the government pilot scheme, namely Bradford and Clare. It seems like the writing may be on the wall that the government will not include them. Your government colleague outlined that that decision will be announced on the 9th of October, and I absolutely hope and appeal to you, Minister, to make good on previous commitments made in principle. I want to welcome this step forward for Limerick, and I hope that the Minister will see sense when it comes to County Clare and not insist on stagnating our county's development, and importantly not stagnating the development of West Clare. I want to appeal to you to reverse your decision and review the submissions once again, take them into account, take also into account the rise in the population that was not factored in, and give County Clare its equity. In closing, Minister, on the bill at hand, I am struggling with the transfer of the role of the Príomh Chorlord and why the directly elected mayor cannot also occupy this role. I feel like we could be hitting on a power struggle here and, to be honest, incurring unnecessary expense. This bill is a welcome draft, but I do believe that there is some work to be done at committee stage around tightening up some of the relationships between the Mayor, the Príomh Chorlord and the Director General. I welcome the proposal of a mayoral programme, and I think it is important that, as this is the first time we are embarking on something like this, that we can see and appraise the new Mayor's intentions. It will be very healthy as part of this endeavour to see the Mayor set out their stall for all to see. The power of the directly elected mayor to redistribute priorities and the director of services is something that greatly interests me. Through the proactive work of the chief executive in Clare, we have an entire directorate covering rural and community development, and for an area like Clare, that is essential. And we have seen wonderful work coming out of that decision. The ability of a mayor to run on a platform and then be able to deliver an entire directorate of services to cover that issue is hugely significant, and I am hopeful that it will encourage a campaign based on experience and serious priorities as opposed to celebrity or prestige. The bill is historic, and I do want to commend the work of all involved. Yourself, Minister, as a Limerick man, I'm sure this is a proud day for you, Minister Burke and former Minister John Paul Phelan, and all of those who went out and campaigned for this those few years ago to finally see this vision move a step forward to being realised. It is very exciting to play this small part in this process as a member of this House. This bill is by no means perfect, but we will fine-tune it and we will make this process the best and most inclusive it can be. Very